Welcome to No Ideas Original Podcast featuring Shannon, Mr. Robbins, Dane, episode 104. What's up, bro? How you doing?
104. Yeah, that sounds nice. Every time I hear it. 104, 105. Making our bones, bro. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no,
it, man.
no doubt. What's up? How your week been?
My week has been good, man. Shout out to y'all for having a nice adult night for us with some games and some food. I killed that chicken, bro. And Janelle killed that damn chicken dip.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good to be around grown folks. Let our hair down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, just kind of be ourselves, man. Take them titles off of mom and dad and boss and employee. And so
Yeah.
outside of that, these damn leaves is getting on my nerves.
Yo, isn't it funny? I think we were talking about the leaves on Saturday, right? And I was saying, yeah.
Every time I look in the damn trees, I'm like, it ain't finished. You
Yeah.
got another bunch. So my neighbor said, Mr. Almond, shout out to Mr. Almond Garo. He said, I'm gonna just wait for them all to fall. I said, but ain't that gonna be a whole lot? He said, look, once they're down, they down. Then my only job is to get rid of them at that point. So I'm just gonna wait.
So what are you using? You mulching or you
Now,
just
what
vacuuming up?
I'm using, I got the blower.
Okay.
I'm blowing them right back in the brush. What surrounds the house is the woodsy area. So all I'm doing is I'm blowing them to the edge, and then we might use the little thing we got in there and put them in the thing and dump them out there or
Yeah.
just blow them out there. And that's pretty much it. But it's so much because it's surrounded like 360 with trees.
Yo, wait till that stiff wind come. Don't put them in a pile. That wind come and blow. I told you before. I told you before. I used to have the joint that where you blow them, and I had the joint where you can mulch. So before I used to blow them, I blow them into a pile, and then after I blow them in a pile, I pick them up and I would bag them, and then the town would come by and they pick them up. But after a while, I was like, yo, I don't feel like messing with all this stuff. So I started mulching them, and it's like one of them things where you find yourself like all fall, constantly doing it. And if you're not on top of it though, and it get real cold and them leaves get frozen, you'll be in for it. And then the other thing is like my allergies get bad. So having to deal with just everything with the leaves and the grass, like yo, it can be painful, man.
All the sneeze and getting in your nose. I had some of that. So I'm like, I haven't had this since a kid. Cause I remember playing in leaves. All of a sudden, chew. Everywhere I go, I'm fucking sneezing. But now, I don't even want to see no more leaves. I want crazy. I want some snow right now.
Yo, yeah, man. I told you though. But yo, thank you to y'all for coming through. And yo, we gotta also make sure we say that the men won both the games.
Yes,
that we played.
Team, took them down, bro.
Yeah, we won both the games that we played. We were victorious, and the fight was good too. It was a good night. I enjoyed it.
Right, it was a great fight. I mean, I was watching Canelo. He's a technician. He was waiting for his chance, and when he got his chance, he took advantage of it. He weighed him out, and the dude was he was fighting back. He had a good little defense on him, but all it took was for Canelo to find that sweet spot, and he was hitting him with them lefts. So he's gonna crumble at some point. He's gonna crumble.
You know what? I think it is also. I think it's just another gear that that people could kick it into, and sometimes you can only get to that gear after you've had experience. And Caleb Plant to me he's a great boxer, but he doesn't have the experience, and I think he'll be better for this fight. The same way Canelo got better after he fought Mayweather. You know, when you fight those dudes that's at the top, the top level, and they in their prime, and you're in against them, and you get to see what it is actually being in. It's different than sparring. It's different than watching them on TV. You know, on TV, you probably think you could rush for 5 yards and get a first down, or you could hit a home run, or you could make a 3-pointer. You know, but when you actually in there and you got to deal with the pressure of having this person in front of you, like I think Caleb Plant, he definitely demonstrated that he's not on Canelo's level, but he's on the level of a top tier boxer. He's a good boxer.
He's a definitely contender. He'll contend with anybody, man. You put him in there, he might surprise you in a couple wins.
Yeah,
put him in some stiff competition. He'll stand up to the challenge.
He'll be back. Yo, my week was good. Aside from the one thing I was telling you before we came on, somebody decided from our job, from our organization, that they were going to steal one of the vans. So that was the one downer for the week. But even with that, like I'm not even gonna let that,
Right.
ruin my week or get me down. And we just did what we need to do. We filed the police report. We have insurance, so we'll see what happens as a result of it. And we have video footage of the person who stole it. So hopefully the person gets caught, and we can move forward. Thank God it was one of the vehicles that we don't use as much, also. So maybe that's why I'm not stressing it that much. Yeah, definitely.
You think it was a disgruntled employee?
At first, I thought that, but then when I saw the video, I was like, no, okay, I don't know this. I don't know this person. But that was my first thing. I'm like, I wonder if this was an inside job. But then after seeing the video, I was like, no, this wasn't an inside job. This is somebody who probably seen the vehicle sitting there for an extended period of time and probably looked at it. It was an older vehicle, it was a 2012, and probably was like, okay, this is easier to take. Our vehicles are outfitted with GPS too. So I'm tracking devices. This is the one vehicle that we have that doesn't actually have the tracking device on it as well, so probably because we don't use it as much, but it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. Just make sure we follow procedure to file a police report.
That's the reason why I asked inside job, because it's the most least used. Someone, randomly, you just pick a car if you want to steal it, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
You know what though? Probably the other thing that I associated with it is because it's the least used and it's the oldest. People probably know it's easier to hotwire an older vehicle.
The
newer vehicles. So,
well, we got this.
Yeah. Yeah, the other vehicles are newer vehicles. So, let's get into it. Not sure if you heard this or not, but YouTube changes the dislike button. So, once upon a time on YouTube, there was the like button and the dislike button, and they still haven't finished completely phasing it out. But what they're gonna do is they're gonna make it that you could dislike a video, but no longer will there be a counter that shows how many times a video has been disliked. This is interesting to me.
That's big because for content creators, visually and publicly, it I don't know. It's kind of misleading too, I guess. You look and say, all right, this person got 50 likes, no one liked it, or 1,000 likes, no one disliked it. After seeing it, a part of the YouTube curriculum or whatever, to not see it, I think it's a yin and yang thing. I mean, for content creators, you promoting your YouTube page and whatever it is you got on YouTube page, it's good for showing those who are that come to your page that people do like what your content is about. But I appreciate, even when we have dislikes, I appreciate that. You know what I mean? It gives us an opportunity. I wish they would speak about what they dislike about the program a lot of times. At least in that instance, we'll be able to work on what it is, whatever it is, so we won't have to come across that again. But I think it's more or less for the showing of how creators is putting out this stuff.
You know why it doesn't bother you? Because you're able to take constructive criticism. That's why it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Motherfuckers crying for everything, man.
But it's for me. I look at it. I say, like, you think about content creators that are probably under the age of 18. I could get why you wouldn't show how many dislikes, and I think that this is consistent with where just even with social media is going. Like like there's no thumbs down on certain things. Like you can't dislike stuff. Once upon a time, I think on Instagram you could dislike a post or something like that. It kind of reminds me almost like that B perk thing, right? Where you how you call it, you only feeding positivity into what it is. So I could see somebody under 18 actually having a YouTube channel and not having dislikes displayed.
Right.
But even that gets weird because the actual content creator will still have the ability to see how many times the video's been disliked. Just the general public won't be able to see it.
Right.
So it's almost like a form of saying, like, all right, we're gonna make it so that content creators can't be bullied, I guess.
Right. And
I respect that for kids. I respect that for kids.
For kids, yes. You want to encourage them and keep them enlightened and encouraged about what they're doing. For the adult party, I mean, if you see it on the back end, like I said, I maybe because I take in corrective criticism, this soft generation, you can't tell them nothing.
And that's why for adults, I don't like it. I don't like it for adults because it creates it's almost like trying to create this utopian society. And it's almost like you can't. It's almost like you can't say I viewed your content and I didn't like it, and I wanted to be public knowledge that I didn't like it, even though dislikes are not public in the sense that you know who actually gave the dislike. I'm thinking that YouTube's position with this is that, you know, even if you dislike a video, you still have the liberty of writing in the comment section. So here's the thing. In the comment section, people could delete the comments. So I don't know if you ever noticed, but I've seen plenty of videos where people will have, let's say they got 150 likes, 75 dislikes. You look through their comments, and in the comment section, there's nothing but positive feedback in the comment section. Right. And then you could see up at the top the number that actually says how many comments there really were. So I've seen people comment sections where it's 50 comments, but only 4 comments are on display.
You know, all them other ones
were unfavorable. Yeah. And you know, I was thinking about this today, and I was saying to myself, imagine if we lived in a world where if you purchased a product off of Amazon, you couldn't give a review on that product. You couldn't say how many stars it was. Or if we lived in a world where, you know, you went to a restaurant and you didn't like it, you couldn't leave a Yelp review, right? Because the restaurant owner or Amazon, they didn't have thick enough skin to take the dislike. At the end of the day, what is the dislike doing other than if you're somebody who has the ability to take constructive criticism? A dislike in a comment in a section, I think I don't see anything wrong with it. Now I know there are some people who are trolls that say horrendous and horrible things. Right. I also think that as an adult, like, you got to have thicker or sensitive skin or whatever. And people throw that terminology, content creator, around a lot, right? So if we're going to talk about content creators, let's talk about dudes like Tyler Perry, Spike Lee, Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg. All these people put all their content out to the world, and it's open for review criticism. Yeah, for people to leave whatever feedback they want to leave. What if they put their content out on display and was like, this is the content, say nothing about it? How does that work?
It doesn't work.
Unless it's favorable.
Push people away to be like, I can't voice my opinion. Mm-hmm. I can't voice my opinion. I won't participate. You might lose a viewer.
Right. So I think, like, on the back end, like I said, I get it for youth. I could see how for youth to say, okay, like, they don't need this on display because it could lead to bullying. But for an adult content creator, I'm like, I think that you got to have thick enough skin to be able to take feedback, take criticism, you know, and whether it be good, bad, and indifferent. If you could sit there and you could thumb through and find all the great things that people say about your programming or your channel or whatever it is, and you got to be able to sit through some things that people say that you may not be in agreement with. But the other part of it, I think, also is that I'm seeing a conscious effort. I don't know if you're picking up on this, Rob. I'm seeing a conscious effort from the government to sort of apply pressure to, like, a lot of these social media sites. Like, they brought in Mark Zuckerberg. I think they brought in Jack Dorsey. They bringing in a lot of these dudes in to congressional hearings and talking to them about the effects of how whatever's going on these different platforms are driving people, you know. So there are a lot of insecure people who can't handle these dislikes or the negative comments that people leave around these videos.
That's what internet makes you very accessible to everything. Where, you know, 10 years ago, you couldn't even be in an adult conversation. Now everyone is in everyone's conversation. So now your feelings can get really, misconstrued on, you know, how you view information, man. And it is dry. I mean, with all of the trolling, the thing, I don't even know what a bot is, but everyone's talking about those are the bots on there messing with you or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck is a bot? But, you know, with the cancel community and the leverage that they have with canceling everybody, who knows? It might be them disliking everything if they don't like somebody.
You know what the other thing I think, though? I look at it and I'm like, for me, it's like people are gonna have an opinion. Nobody is everybody's cup of tea, right? There's not ever gonna be a time where everybody is 100% in agreement with you.
Right.
It just is what it is, you know. But I think I've watched different content creators. I've watched it do like Star. I don't know if you ever watched Star, but I watched Star, and Some content creators, I'll watch their stuff and I'll read their chat. Other people, I'm like, I don't want to read the chat. In Star's chat, Star he may have 2,000 people. I've seen the time he had 2,000 people in the chat. 100 of those people were saying horrible things.
Of course.
They were saying horrible. And honestly, maybe because it's not part of Star's show, Star wasn't even paying attention to it. He wasn't even reading the chat. The only thing that he was reading was the super chats, the ones that was associated with money. The other stuff, he was just like, all right, whatever it is. And that's Star. Then there's another dude I watched, this dude named Boxing Ego, that he specifically does like boxing commentary. And in his chat, he may have about 150 people, probably like 30 people will be in the chat. I'm sorry, he'll have like 150 people, but 30 people will be saying like derogative or negative stuff in the chat. He has his moderators, and he also, I don't think Star has any moderators. I don't know if I ever see moderators in Star chat, but this new Boxing Ego he has, and he's reading the chat as he's doing whatever it is, his show, and he's telling people, block Johnny, block this dude, block that, block. And I'm like, damn, like, yo, you really that bothered about the stuff these people saying? It's like, I don't know if that's content for them to do that, but I'm like, yo, you really paying attention to that stuff?
Doggy Diamond does that, and also Killer Priest does that. They read the comments during the show, and they be like, nah, get him out of here. Block him. Taking niggas out, yo, son. Yo, I see Doggy Diamond say, he told somebody, nigga, I'm from Brooklyn. You supposed to know that. Get the fuck out of here.
Yo, but you know what the crazy thing about it is, though? It's like, people be blocking so many people that they make enemies from this stuff.
Yeah, you be like,
and then people make it their life work to get revenge on this stuff or whatever. And I think that this is consistent with probably like, yo, the dislike button, because there are people who I'm sure won't even watch, and people who won't even watch a video. They just click on just the dislike. All right, hold this dislike or whatever. But to me, at the end of the day, it's just like, what can you do? Like, as a business owner, I've conceded, like, yo, I'm gonna get positive reviews, I'm gonna get negative reviews or whatever, but I'm not gonna go through and delete every negative review. And the reason why, the reason why also, and I see this also, like, usually when I'm traveling somewhere, I'll look at resorts or wherever I'm going and I'll read the reviews. And what I've seen more and more now is like people who own these properties, their general manager will be in the comments, trying to, like the person like, well, I stay here, they didn't have the fresh towels, this, that. Oh, I'm sorry because this, that, or whatever. Or some of these places I see, they get in and they become defensive. They be like, well, you came on this day, you did this, that, whatever it is. And it's like, you want engagement, but is that the kind of engagement that I want? I want to engage you around the stuff that you didn't like about the show or the presentation. So I get why you two would do something like that, because I think there are people who have fragile mental health that they, that it probably sets them off or drives them crazy. But to me, if you're an adult and you made the decision to be on any platform,
right,
and share your content,
right,
then to me, that's almost like that you've agreed to whatever the constructive criticism is with it.
You should be able to welcome any criticism you're putting out, any information. You should be able to, sit there and be like, if something is wrong, allow people to air out. And actually, sometimes control conflict like that engages a dialogue with, now maybe you did something wrong. Maybe something came out that wasn't supposed to come out the way it was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
Someone's pulling your collar. And that's the part that I don't mind, because even when we do this, some people will say, yo, Rob, sit up, or Rob, do this. You know what I mean? There's certain things where I'm like, my bad, I didn't even know I did that. But I appreciate that, because it has me look at myself and fine tune or give a better product. And that's what you want. That's what you want your listeners or your audience or whoever's listening. You want them to get the best of you that you have to offer.
Yeah, I do think though the stuff that the comments that should be deleted is like the derogative stuff. Like, to me, it's okay to give feedback, but when it's malicious and it's hurtful and stuff like that, I can see why somebody would block somebody if they in a chat and they talking about, some, oh, you suck, you this, that, or whatever. That's not constructive criticism. Like when you in the chat and we're talking and the person is in our chat and they disagree with my opinion, I'm not gonna be like, yo, block this person, get them out of there or whatever. Like, you're allowed to have a separate opinion from mine. But if you get in the chat and you start talking about, oh, yo, black people suck or Latinos are no good, whatever it is or whatever, then I'm gonna be like, nah, this doesn't warrant you. That's not constructive criticism. There's nothing anybody could do with that. So let's see where this goes. Let's see what YouTube does with this.
Keep an age limit on it. Kids under 17, PG-13 or something like that.
Or how about this? If you mentally fragile, don't be on it. Don't get on the internet.
Nah, go to the library.
Put your content out. Man, did you have a chance to watch Kanye on Drink Champs? What did you think about it?
Parts of it. The part that I did like is that he brought out Larry Hoover's son. I don't know much about Larry Hoover, although him being allegedly the leader member of the Gangster Disciples, but giving his son a platform to speak about his father and his father's involvement in the community, and I think Maury hit the nail on the head and said, because he said he traveled to Chicago often when he would go, and the state of affairs in Chicago is crazy with all the killings. But when the OGs were there, you didn't have that. It was more organized.
It's community.
It's a community. And I think Kanye's involvement, as long as Nori's, giving this gentleman a platform so we can hear a better side. And that's happening more. Outside of the dude that got murdered in Harlem, I'm going to stay away from that. But there are some brothers who are locked up like political prisoners, who are locked up, who have done good work. Of course, it doesn't get promoted.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? But they've done their Bumpy Johnson sort of way of doing things. You know what I'm saying? And they've helped so many people. Now, this man has been in jail over 47 years. I mean, he hasn't even seen his son. He said, my father's been in jail my entire life.
It's horrible.
And Kanye has put a defense team together to get his father out. And I think it's going to happen. But they're under this First Step Act that I guess was pushed by Trump, mind you. First Step Act changes the conversation of mass incarceration. So, there's probably a lot of people in there who don't need to be in there.
That's a fact.
Petty crime, you know what I'm saying? Nonviolent crime is crazy most of the time. It's a critical win to fight to reduce mass incarceration, but I think it is a critical win because you get these people home, especially with this thing about marijuana. Now, everyone that's got a dispensary, they're hitting the billion mark now.
Yep.
But there's less than 2% black owners in the cannabis
environment. And brothers are incarcerated for selling weed.
And they're still in there. Not even just for selling. Some niggas is in there for holding a blunt.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think whatever that First Step Act is, it needs to get people in there. It needs to get people out of jail a lot of the times, man. And the narrative, of having these guys. Just look at Freeway Ricky Ross. He potentially is the man who started crack. And look what he's doing now.
Yeah, he heavy in the marijuana.
Heavy in the marijuana business. He got a book out. He's speaking publicly, nationally about drugs and community efforts and all these different things. We need them people out there. You got to remember, anybody who went out to sell drugs, in my opinion, prior to them selling drugs, they were decent individuals. But as you get older, your interests change. And you start to feel like, well, damn, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And Freeway Ricky Ross is situation. He thought sports was going to be the way out. But come to find out, when they were looking for athletes, he didn't meet the criteria, so he chose tennis. But right as he was thinking of becoming this new Arthur Ashe, crack came in. And he seen the development of crack.
Yeah.
You know the story after that. Larry Hoover, in the same instance, he's in there, I think, for alleged drug-related crimes, and he's serving 5
life sentences. Yeah.
Like, damn, son. And that's what I liked about it. But also with that interview with Ye, I think it was very necessary for Ye to be on a platform such as that from a hip hop standpoint because Nori and DJ ESN, shout out to DJ ESN, they allow they really do give people their flowers and they allow the hip hop to come out of the individual.
Yeah.
And it was good for Ye to be in that platform because we kind of get the Ye hip hop, not the artist, not the one who wants to be painting and ripped whole shirt, fucking all that. You know what? We want to know how you doing, Ye. Like we missed the music you created, we missed that the lyrics that you put out, we missed all of that. And Ye is on a different trajectory, man. Social commentary, socially clear about certain things. But this is what we'll probably chat on this about the next topic when it comes to Travis Scott. Something about the women that they're around, son. Men don't survive around them, man.
Yo, but I'm gonna tell you, I thought yeah, finish what you were saying.
Nah, I was gonna wrap it up with that.
Yeah, I appreciated the interview. You know, I had a chance to watch both parts. And what I'll say about Kanye is that he made some great points. Like Kanye to me was very apparent is that Kanye West he's a free man. He's a free man. He's a free thinker. Like, and he's comfortable saying a lot of stuff that's unpopular.
Yes, sir.
That other people may not want to say. Does that mean I'm in agreement with everything he says? No, I'm not in agreement with everything that he says. But there were some things that he said that I was in agreement with. Like he talked about, I think, in the second part of it, he was making reference to how something along the lines of that. I think what he was basically trying to allude to was that whenever people say somebody is crazy, they use it as to kind of like cut off the conversation. I don't know if you caught that part, but he was like, that's like the ultimate trump card that people play against him. Like whenever he he says whatever he says that people are not in agreement with, they like, well, did you take your meds? Are you, oh, he's just being crazy. And I think that a lot of people that are like abstract thinkers and have different approaches to things are written off as just being crazy. Like, oh, yeah, this dude is just crazy. Like I don't know if I would categorize Kanye West as being crazy. I think that he's I think he's eccentric and I think that he's manic. Like, I think Kanye West can be very, very manic. And when he talks, you could see like the thoughts racing. That's why he's like all over the place, and you got to kind of
he can't conceptualize that one thought.
Yeah,
by that time, 4 thoughts have already jumped in his head.
Stay, like to stay with him. But a lot of the stuff that he was saying was accurate, factual stuff. Do I agree with him with like the Donald Trump stuff? Like I agree with him to the point that it's his right to have whatever political affiliation he wants to have. Do I think that Donald Trump was a great politician? No, but I do agree that if that's who you want to align yourself with, like if that's, I don't see how his political affiliation with Donald Trump should make people be like, it is what it is with Kanye. And then the other thing, the thing that I was a little conflicted with, or I think he was off with, is that he seemed to have kind of like blew up his whole relationship with John Legend and Big Sean. And as a result,
I think Common was in there too, right?
As a result of them having a difference of opinion and speaking on it about his political affiliation, and I'm guessing that he thought that their commentary on it was disrespectful on how they approached it or how they handled it. But I don't see, and I was listening to the Breakfast Club after the first part of the interview came out, and they were saying that DJ Envy was saying that he believes that Kanye is right because Kanye put both of them in a position and they should never speak ill of Kanye. So Charlamagne was saying, but Jay-Z put him in a position and he offers criticism on Jay-Z. DJ Envy was like, well, DJ Clue put me on and I would never say anything. It could be off the radar. I could talk to him or this, that, or whatever it is. But I just think that, like as a man, if me and you having a conversation, Rob, and I say, well, I'm voting for Trump, and you be like, I think you bugging or this, that, or whatever. To me, that doesn't change the nature of our relationship. And I don't care if our other friends are around, and me and you, that doesn't change the nature of our friendship. And I think that part and that part, Kanye lost me with that because I'm like, yo, you got to be a little bit more mature than that. Like, you know, like if you're supposed to be and Kanye should be used to this because Kanye is a visionary. And most of the time, if you're a visionary, you're gonna have tons of people that's naysayers and disagree with you. Mm-hmm. So he's got to come up against that a lot in life for people being like, nah, I don't know about that. That may not work. I'm not in agreement with that. And you mean to tell me everybody who tells you no, that's not gonna work, I'm not in agreement with, then you're gonna fall out with them, or you're gonna X them out of your life? Like, nah, yo, I can't mess with this person because they didn't see my vision for these new pair of Yeezys or this new album. Like, that to me, I'm like, I'm not
disagree with that too, man, because whatever your decision or your choice is, who you choose to follow, that's your decision, that's your choice, and it's based on, you know, what you got going on in your life. These people might mirror the same moral ethics that you mirror. You know what I mean? Which gives you an insight of what that person is thinking. I used to go through that a lot, man. When I told people that I listen to Farrakhan, he's like, listen to Farrakhan, but Farrakhan killed Malcolm X. I said, do you know that for sure? Or you just spitting rhetoric because you heard that Farrakhan has something to do with it. And then when I start to break it down to them, and you have to understand the power of the honorable minister. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Elijah Muhammad had so much power and so much influence that if anybody said anything about that man, that person would be attacked, regardless of what it was. This man has changed millions of people's lives. So, you know, whatever the case is that Kanye decides to disassociate with John Legend and Lil Sean, what is his name?
Big Sean.
Big Sean. I said
Lil Sean is the dude who sung "Hickeys on Your Chest."
I don't know why he was in my head, but Big Sean, he should just let it go, man. But Kanye being a Gemini, they don't let shit go easy, bro.
Yeah. Yo, what did you think about his discussion about saying that he was homeless? Did you hear that part?
No.
He said that he was homeless. He said that he was homeless in a sense. I guess he related homeless to being wealthy. He was like, yeah, I build cribs. I paid $60 million for my house, whatever my house, and then redesigned it. It cost me $60 million. But he was like, I don't stay there no more. You know, I'll move on to the next thing. I just build cribs. He was like, I'm basically homeless. I stayed at the Mercedes-Benz stadium in Atlanta, and then, you know, I go to Paris and I stay in Paris and this, that. And I was like,
homeless to him ain't what homeless, how we look at homeless.
Yeah.
Homeless means this man got too many goddamn options. He can't stay in one place.
Yeah, he was basically saying that he's comped though everywhere he go.
Everywhere you go. Listen, if I was able to be comped everywhere I go, I wouldn't be home either.
It's you know what the difference between homeless is? Homeless sleeping on your friend from high school couch is different from homeless when he talking about, yeah, I went and stayed at Elon Musk's house, or I was at Anna Wintour's house, or that's a very different homeless.
This man got 12,000 acres.
Well, he said he getting rid of it. He said he getting rid of it, and he's putting it up for sale. He also talked a lot in that interview also about Kim and how they haven't officially divorced. He hasn't been served the papers, and how the nannies, and I think he said the nannies are part of the problem, that she got all these people around her and in her ear. So, I mean, you know, like Kanye, like I said, Kanye to me could be kind of manic and like all over the place. But there's a lot of truth to the stuff that he was saying in that interview.
A lot of truth. There's a lot of truth. There's a lot of mental health issues he was talking about in there. You know,
I didn't think he should have said that stuff about like Just Blaze though. Like he took shots at Talib Kweli. Did you hear what he said about Talib Kweli?
He said Just Blaze stole some shit from.
Oh yeah, Just Blaze copied his style, and Talib Kweli, he never liked his rapping, and that he fronted like he was a backpacker, but he really not a backpacker. Like Kanye. But he also was drinking and smoking, so
drink champ and smoke champ.
Yeah, he was drinking and smoking, so
they say when a drunk man speaking sober tongue, so that might have been something he was holding in his chest, and now he had the platform to talk about it.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's
a very eccentric guy, man.
Yeah, on to his brother-in-law. Did you see the Travis Scott concert? And rest in peace to the nine victims, the 9 people who died that lost their life at the concert. Have you been following the story? I've heard so many different takes on this. Like some people are saying that they believe that this was some sort of demonic cult like sacrifice. Some people were saying that they believe that Travis Scott should be held accountable for it. I have a lot of questions as it relates to this. Like one of the things that shocked me with this is that like one of the people who lost their life was I think like a 10-year-old.
And the 9-year-old boy.
The concert was general admission though, like general admission festival style with no seats. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah. So, but I'm trying to figure out who takes a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old to a Travis Scott concert that's general admission, knowing what those concerts look like. Like, I don't. What's your take on this?
Man, I don't think Travis Scott should be the sole culprit. I mean, there are over 100 lawsuits out on, I don't know if it's Travis Scott or the promoters. I think the promoters, the executive producer, the festival directors. I mean, 50,000 people is a lot of people.
Definitely is.
Even before Travis Scott got on stage, people were already complaining about not being able to breathe. Well, if you got a venue, 50,000 people on top of each other,
in the height of COVID,
no one's wearing a mask, and that's one of the things my wife said. How do you have a concert with 50,000 people and it's COVID out
here? Yeah.
But when I go to New York and I gotta go on McDonald's or something, I gotta wear a mask. It's crazy world. This is a lot of questions about this, man. And you know the whole sacrifice thing. I've watched that. I watched a couple of those. Blue and the Red Pill. There's a couple of people that I follow because this situation mirrors another concert that a number of about 8 people have passed away, and they the symbols and all different things. Whether that is the case or not, there are people that lost their lives that shouldn't have lost their lives. In particular, he didn't lose his life, but he's hanging on to his life, and it's this 9-year-old boy who went to the concert with his father. Now, whatever the situation was that this young man, you know, was at death's bed for his life, but getting to the medical tent, they had to travel through hundreds, almost 1,000, thousands of people to get to a medical tent. Now, if you know you got a venue that holds 50,000 participants, and you're on this side of the stage, you're on this side of the stage, but the medical tent is way the fuck back there. That's who should be the one that's being prosecuted for criminal activity. Because you're supposed to have medical tents every 10 feet.
Yeah.
Not I have to go through all, and you're not getting through 1,000 people at no concert.
Yeah.
And I know how it is. Like, I think it was one police officer got on the radio and was saying, look, the stage is being compromised. And this is before Travis Scott got on stage. So you know how concerts get. Everybody rushes the front. They get the bird's eye view. But those in the front are already getting trampled on because everyone is pushing
them, yeah.
And you see it in Michael Jackson concerts. You see it in rock and roll concerts. People are passing out left and right because of the heat exhaustion. There's no air in between people. You know, you get 40 of us in a room, and niggas is doing this. Man, damn, motherfucker. 1,000?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, suing him, I don't. It's big of him to want to pay for the funeral, but you know, I don't know, man. This one hits home, man. 50,000 people, and you allow this type of concert to go on. You know, people are complaining about I can't breathe. You know, you gonna sue Drake too? He was there.
I think somebody did. I think they listed him in a lawsuit.
A lawsuit. Wow.
Yeah. My thing with it is I could see how his name would be if he's listed as a promoter and one of the event organizers because it's Astro World and his thing.
Put this together.
In Live Nation, like I can see how his name will be listed in that capacity.
Right.
But as a performer, I don't think it's his responsibility. Yeah, I don't think it's his responsibility as a performer. I'm in agreement with what you said. Like I think that I know prior to them having these events, especially events of this magnitude, they usually have like the fire department and people come in to look at like what the capacity is for it to be safe and look at, okay, so this is where the medical help is or whatever. All that stuff is usually laid out. To me, those are the people who were negligent. As far as like the sacrificial stuff and the cults and all that stuff or whatever.
That's not, that's not for the general public. The general public don't know nothing about signs and symbols and things. I mean, that's for a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, but you know what else I will say about it also? I don't think Travis Scott, to me, isn't a person that I think that is going to have a casual fan. And what I mean by a casual fan is like me and you in Texas for the night and be like, oh, what's going on? Oh, Travis Scott, this guy Travis Scott is having a concert. Let's drop in. Like I think to me, Travis Scott fans are diehard Travis Scott fans. And I think that this is not to absolve him of any responsibility or to speak to whether this was some sort of ritual or the symbolism associated with the things there. But I feel like that the people that will be going to the show would be people who will be familiar with what the shows are about and what his music is about. And I think when you start talking about like these rituals and stuff like that and things like that, like, do they exist? Yeah, I'm sure they certainly exist. But I wouldn't want to diminish. I wouldn't want to diminish the loss of lives with this and just write it off to this was a sacrifice,
ritualistic.
Yeah.
So now what are we to look for now? Now that people have lost their lives and the ritual was set, now is Travis Scott gonna become a billionaire? Because usually what happens when they use the word rituals, now someone's career goes through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be to look for. And in my mind, I was gonna say this about Kanye. He's married to to one of the sisters too, ain't he?
Well, somebody also alluded to that, talking about they married to the witches and this, that. Like, there's this intricate theory woven into this stuff, and I think the symbolism, rituals, and all that or whatever. I think that's an interesting theory to have. But I'm going with the theory of neglect. That the fire department was neglectful and the event organizer. Like, I could see why Live Nation would get sued, and if he's listed as a promoter, I could see why he would get sued. But as a performer, no, I don't think he should be held liable as a performer. Because think about it, like if anybody could go and perform at any show, like if Jay-Z was performing at the Barclays and somebody got assaulted during the show at the Barclays because he was performing, you don't know when the music just got people amped up or whatever. You can't hold the performer liable for that.
When you hold concerts in venues such like this outside of stadiums have seating. But when you're in these open venues, like Diana Ross did her "I'm Coming Out" concert at Central Park. No one died. But think about John Bon Jovi. Think about the Beatles. Think about all these rock stars who had millions of participants at their shows. We don't talk about the lives that were lost in those things, with the mosh fighting and the all of this crazy stuff going. Man, listen, man. I hate to look at it as Travis Scott. He might be the ritual.
The sacrifice, right?
He might be the sacrifice. His career is on the fucking line. At least Nike's not throwing his sneakers in the trash.
Yeah. But I think McDonald's, they said somebody dropped them though. Or he got dropped from another festival.
And that's the disheartening part, because if I'm an artist, I'm coming to the stage to do my show. I had nothing to do with how the venue is set up.
I'm gonna tell you, I was having this discussion today. me and the missus, and I was saying, I was like, yo, we've become such a society that's just like, we want a pound of flesh, right? We just become like bloodthirsty. Like somebody need to be held accountable. And I think that we've gotten to the point of accountability so much that we don't look at accountability on small levels. We automatically go to accountability in the form of financial compensation. So yeah, that's what I say. So when people start talking about accountability, they like Live Nation and Travis Scott. They should be held responsible for it, and they probably do have some level of responsibility. But also the other part of it, though, also again, that has nothing to do from a legal standpoint. And like, who am I to say as a parent? Like, as a parent, you do what you want. But to me, there's some question as to why a parent would take their 9 or 10-year-old to a Travis, even if they're a Travis Scott fan, knowing this is general admission, this is a festival type style concert, and knowing what it would be about. Like, I look at stuff like that and I'm like, okay, like that we need to make mention of that. And again, that's not to diminish the fact that people got hurt and people lost their lives. But I think that we have to stop being so hungry for a pound of flesh that we look at individual versus industry, and we quick to put responsibility on industry over individual. So much that if a person choke on a cheeseburger at McDonald's, we're like, yo, McDonald's need to be held accountable.
McDonald's got lead in they fucking sandwiches, son.
Yo, it to me is like impractical. Right. So, man, did you finish watching season 2 of Wu-Tang and American Saga?
Sure enough, did. That's one of my favorite shows. It's one of my favorite shows of the year, man.
Yeah, me too.
And what I like about it is that knowing damn near all of the songs that they ever made, and watching the storyline is refreshing. Like
nostalgic.
Yo, it I love the storyline because it gives visual context to the song and lyrics that we've heard over 25 years. All of the ins and outs, them being on the block, them doing this, Power and Divine coming together, and once they were at each other's head, and watching how that all unfolded. The story of Ray and Ghost, how that unfolded. What's more compelling about this story in regards to like Power, Raising Cain, Godfather, Harlem, Snowfall, BMF. This story kind of is kind of heartfelt in the sense where you're watching tragedy turn into triumph. And Divine himself mentioned like when they were in the think tank creating this, there were certain things that they wanted to put in there. They wanted to put tragedy. They wanted to leave it as tragic events. And Divine and RZA was like, nah, we're not doing that. You're not going to paint this picture like that because we're still artists. And we came from these dredging times and look at where we are. You know what I'm saying? This is a tragedy and triumph story. This isn't a dark story. Snowfall was a dark story. You know what I'm saying? You watching Power and Raising Cain. Those are dark stories. There's no hero at the end. You know what I mean? So I'm anticipating season 3 because now they're into Enter the Wu-Tang. So now we get to see how that developed. And right after Enter the Wu-Tang came, all the individual acts started getting so you might see the inception of Built for Cuban Links. You might see the inception of ODB's joint and GZA's Liquid Sword. You might see the inception of a lot of these different things. So that's one of my best shows. I love that show. I can't wait for season 3 to start.
Yeah, I'm a fan too. I watch it faithfully. I was in disbelief that the last episode was the last episode. This Wednesday, I went looking for it.
I was looking for
it. I didn't want to accept it, even though it was a good cliffhanger. I didn't want to accept it. That's the way to tell that it's a great show because we already know how everything plays out. It really is. They got the perfect name for it, American Saga. It really is a wonderful, amazing American story to see. All of them come from something, come from nothing to something, and the developing them as men, as artists. It's a phenomenal story. I was disappointed though that the 3rd season is going to be the final season because I feel like there's so much story there that could play out, you know. So I'm hoping that for the third and final season that we get more episodes.
But Divine was saying, I think I watched the interview with Divine. Divine was saying the executive, the higher ups, they want to throw more tragedy in there. If you notice, we all know how ODB was living, but did you see any of that on any of those shows? You didn't see ODB drinking like unless he was drinking communally with his brothers, but you didn't see him off on no drugs and nothing like that. You ain't see him doing no crazy stuff like that.
Yo, that show has to be, the ratings have to be through the roof. I would wonder why they would want to make it
one of the best show. They one of the best shows on the network.
Yeah, so I wonder what led to them being. Was it just creative differences that made them say, "Okay, this is the final season"?
It was. It was that the higher ups they leased them another season. They wasn't gonna get past season 2.
Wow.
That's according to Divine. He said I thought that was it.
Yeah.
But they gave but RZA being RZA, and you know him having a mentality of nah, that's not it. We got more, and I guess they bought into it, and now we got a season 3. But he said, yo, in them think tanks in them writing rooms, these guys are trying to put all of the worst in. Now we had to put some stuff in there because
traumatization
for drama. And you know, most people like to see the glamour of success, and nobody wants to see the hardship. So we had to have a balance of the both. Because according to Divine, there's 11 siblings, not 4. All we see was RZA and Divine, his sister, and the little brother. You know what I'm saying? But Divine said it's 11 of us, yo.
Yeah.
But he also said that's what helped him deal with 9 brothers, 9 members, because at home he was dealing with 11 people already.
Yeah.
He knew how to delegate responsibility.
Yeah. So I'm my concern is that I think that I hope they find a good point to conclude on, because
they control the narrative. That's the whole point that they want. They wanted to control the narrative of the show instead of letting the writers control it to give it this negative content. And you got to remember, these guys they're still living. It's not like somebody passed away and they're doing the story.
Yeah.
It's an American story that's still going on.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know what? I'm sure we got to wait another year and a half probably to get the final season. So
hopefully by summertime. So that's the hope by summertime.
Yeah, we'll see. Rich the Kid donates sneakers, school supplies, and dinner to families in a homeless shelter. This story really is near and dear to me, because this time of the year when the holidays come around, for me to think that, you know, like kids, families, anybody will have to be homeless, you know, is just it's terrible, because you know the holidays are synonymous with family and comfort and warmth and everything. So for him to come out of his pocket and to do these things, I think it's phenomenal, you know. And this story also, we found a story on the Shade Room. As far as I know, I don't think he publicized it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are more stories like this about artists going out and doing these type of deeds, but not making it public knowledge. You know, like these for
the kids, they do that all the time, son.
Yeah, like these are the kind of things though that, you know, even people don't realize, even in silence doing these kind of things. These are the kind of things though that we need people doing. We need more of.
We need more, and they don't have to be publicized. Just do the work. Just do the work, man. To feed over 104 families, just out of sheer will, because you're blessed. That's what you call true reciprocity, man.
Exactly.
You can give of yourself because you've been given so much. You know what I mean? That's dope. I shout outs to Rich the Kid. You know what I mean? I found out he was fined for randomly pulling up in front of Burberry and Rodeo Drive and throwing out money. But that's him giving back. Like, y'all all want to be out here? Here's $1 million. I don't know how much he threw, but he was throwing money out there, man. Big shout to him, because homelessness is a tough ordeal. A buddy of mine's over in Oakland sent me a little video about the homelessness in Oakland, because the cost of living is so high in Oakland, and the gentrification that's happening out there. It's pushing regular people out in the street. And
Yeah, I
tents.
would love to have him. Yeah, I would love to have him on to talk about it. I would love to have him
So
on.
he sent me this thing, and there was one guy doing, I guess, a small little documentary, but there's a camp, a tent camp, of people living in there. Of course, there are people that was down on their luck, did drugs, but a lot of people are electricians. There's some doctors that live in this tent community because they said a studio is almost $3,000.
That no surprise.
How you supposed to live and pay bills and take care of your family? And that's a studio. So imagine with a 3-bedroom or a home. Like, you gotta be. It's crazy. So homelessness is still a very big issue.
It is. It is. I remember. I think sometime last year I was saying you guys on the show. I was like, I went down to Manhattan for something, and I was surprised. I was like, damn, this is looking like the 80s. But there are other forms of homelessness that people don't realize. Like, people associate being homeless when you see somebody sleeping on the street. Yeah, that's homeless. But there are also other people that sleeping in cars, sleeping on sofas, sleeping in
still going to work,
shelters,
and still going to work, living in their car, and they still get up. They find a way. I don't know if it's a McDonald's bathroom. They go in there real quick, shower, shave, clean up, brush their teeth, and go out the door. I mean, it's more than one way to skin a cat. People are finding ways to continue their life.
Yeah,
families. Cost of living is driving people out.
Families.
You see it here in New York with gentrification, man. Certain areas where people were living, like, we all know people in Bed-Stuy that used to live in Bed-Stuy.
They ain't there no more. The other thing you think about it is, like, there are people that for a long time, a significant portion of the homeless population was made up of people that were veterans, people that were considered to be mentally ill, a lot of LGBT youth that their parents discarded them were homeless also. Now you have the mixture of families who just can't afford, like you said, the cost of living. And it's got to be rough. You know who it's probably extremely rough for? Probably for like if you're like a single male. Like, if you're a single male and you're homeless, it got to be hard. For a woman, if you got your children, most of the time they could get into shelters and stuff like that. But you got people in shelters, hostels, cars, hotels, tents, sleeping in Port Authority. It's rough.
Boxes.
Yeah.
You just create a way, man, so you get a nice sleep, man.
Yeah.
And it's tough in this country, and this is one of the wealthiest countries on the planet, and we still can't get rid of hunger, homelessness, all the little nuances that keep the way America is looked at on a global market. Like, how y'all so rich, but y'all are the worst. You're worse in health and worse in education.
Well, we talked about, remember last episode when we was talking about Elon Musk's generosity, thinking that he was going to cure world hunger and the costs associated with it. But during this time of the year, especially with Thanksgiving coming around, Christmas coming up right behind it, if you know somebody that may be homeless, maybe on the verge of being homeless, think of what kind of charitable efforts you could do to help a person out. Like a cup of coffee, sandwich, donating clothing, there are all sorts of things.
Boots, a scarf, a hat, a meal, sometimes a conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes just the air. You may help somebody out by just having a conversation with them, man. Sometimes people just want to be talked to.
Yeah. Streets ain't playing fair right now. Streets are not playing fair. Only one black juror selected for the trial of Ahmaud Arbery's killers. What are your thoughts on this, Rob? Yeah, I'm gonna say, I don't know if you saw recently also that there was an issue with the defense attorney complaining, saying that he didn't want Al Sharpton in the courtroom. Did you hear about this?
He didn't want no pastors in there.
to sway the jurors.
I don't sway the jury when 11 of them are white.
Yeah.
One black individual, but that's crazy.
How does that happen?
Well, aren't voter registrations hand in hand with jury selection or being a juror? Because most people don't vote because they don't want to go to jury duty.
Voter registration
for jury duty.
Voter registration. What is it? There are a couple of things that get you on the rolls as a juror. But I'm wondering, like, yo, what prosecutor sat there and said these people, these people, like, why were they not striking people? How could you only, as a prosecutor, end up with one black juror in this case? Is the prosecutor blind? Maybe.
I don't know, man.
And somebody told him, like, yeah, no, it's a whole bunch of brothers and sisters. Oh, yeah, there's jurors. Like, yeah, that makes no sense to me.
You know, all that's needed is for a few of these jurors to say that they don't agree. And if that happens, these dudes can walk. It could be a mistrial.
Yeah.
And then that's another case. But then it shows you what the ongoing situation is here in America about race.
I'm concerned though, Rob.
But this thing too. In the 3 days, they haven't found any criminal activity of Ahmaud Arbery. What did he do? So where was your citizen? What was your citizen's arrest for? Yeah. There's no evidence of him being a criminal or doing any criminal activity. So what were you doing?
He was guilty of being a black man and jogging.
That's crazy.
You know what? There may be another. We may find ourselves with some more public outrage with this going on and the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff going on also. Like if those three gentlemen get off and Kyle Rittenhouse gets off, people are gonna go crazy. People are gonna lose their mind behind that. Maybe. You know, and it's crazy because we've been there before, but I'm hoping personally that that Derek Chauvin sets the new trend of how you call it, white people who commit these crimes against black people actually being convicted, and then we continue on that pattern with these three gentlemen and Kyle Rittenhouse. But I don't have faith in our judicial system. And when I hear that there's only one black juror and that the prosecutor went along with this instead of trying to get more black jurors, I'm concerned.
I'm very concerned because what happens is this paints a very bad picture. Paints a picture that gives individuals the concept of having a license to kill black people in certain areas where they know they can get, out of 12 jurors, they can get 10 folks like themselves, 11 folks like themselves, and just throw one token individual in there to say, well, we didn't go 100%.
I need to see what that one black juror looked like too. I need to see what that one, because you may think we got one, but we need to see what that one black juror looked like.
What's the dude that Dave Chappelle played? He thought he was a white racist. I forgot his name, sir.
Big Clarence Bigsby.
Clarence Bigsby. Over ain't Clarence on there. So.
Clarence Bigsby.
Nah, this is America, man. I hate to say it like that, but this is what we've been dealing with. I've been hearing this my entire life, and all I've heard my grandmother talk about it in her entire life is the things we had to dealing with race in this country, man, and being ostracized and not getting our fair share of anything. Yeah, we're always fighting an uphill battle. It's not even a level playing ground. We're not even on the same playing ground anymore. And like I said, I just hate for this picture to be painted to give individuals the concept to think they have a license. If you see someone, and it's a lot of assumptions. So if there's no evidence of this man committing the crime, what justified you in doing that? That means you just didn't like him in your neighborhood. Yeah. You just assume he looked like he's stealing something because he's running.
Yo.
What is that?
I didn't even realize that citizen's arrest was still a thing.
For real, son. All the stuff that people are walking around here taking pictures of women getting raped when they can beat somebody ass. Citizens arrest that shit. You know what I'm
saying? Go to Williamsburg and try to make a citizen's arrest.
Thank you.
See how that work out for you.
Go to Fordham Road and try to do
it. Yeah, but what you were saying about like the lifetime of having to endure the racism is a good segue to our next topic. The United States was found guilty of 5 counts of genocide by the International Panel of Jurors. And these are the 5 counts that they were found guilty of: police killing of Black, brown, and indigenous people, mass incarceration of Black, brown, and indigenous people, political incarceration of activists, environmental racism towards Black, brown, and indigenous people, and public health racism and its traumatic impacts.
So last one we talked about last time we was on the show.
Yeah.
Being a health issue. Race is a health issue, man, because it's hit every industry on the planet. Education, healthcare. I don't care where you're at. Race is already hit there. It's in corporate America. You know, I watched it when, you know, in my corporate career, I watched who the senior leadership was. They didn't look like me. I mean, and if they were just managers. They weren't the ones that were making the real rules or pushing the buttons. But for an international panel to gather information and to come up with these charges means that on the outside looking in, the globe, the planet is watching America. People are watching and tallying the numbers of how they treat their citizens. And disproportionately, Black, brown, yellow, indigenous people are on the wrong end, especially with mass incarceration. America incarcerates more people in this one little country than all of the countries put together. And 90% of them are us.
Of course.
So what is
yet our representation, the representation of people of color is significantly less in the country. Right? There are less people of color, but they're incarcerated at a higher rate.
So people from the outside looking in and saying, what are Black people doing? Are they just this crazy, or are they just criminals? There's no way in the world, because people travel here and they see how Black people live.
Yeah, and it's on display for the world.
It's two different things. So the people are scratching their head and be like, nah, something else is going on, man. Police killing. We don't see police killing any other nationality live on TV. Right. Whether you're Asian, whether you're Latino, I don't even see that.
Nah, the Latino brothers get it too.
Murder?
They get it too. they not at the magnitude of Black people, but Latino brothers
I'm sure they get their ass whipped like we do. We're talking about police killing.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. Pardon me if I'm wrong. You know, political incarceration. We've seen that during the COINTELPRO.
Of course.
With Black Panther and Malcolm X, and you know, them trying to ostracize, just not wanting to see Black people rise to their prominence. That's one of the reasons why I love the nation, man, because the work that Elijah Muhammad did, man, is unprecedented, and he did it under the radar, and he did it in a nation. He built a nation within a nation. And I said, my buddy that told me about the homelessness in California, I sent him the video of 1974 Savior's Day. I said, this man built this from the 1940s to the 1970s. 40 years of creating an empire, which unfortunately handed it to his son, and his son took it somewhere else. But here it is, a man had a third grade education, raised the nation, gave us Malcolm X, gave us Clarence 13X, gave us Farrakhan, and everything extended from there. This one man did himself.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show the power that we have if we do unite and do for ourselves and help one another out, which it might be philanthropic, like Rich the Kid. It could be in a number of different ways. It could be just you and I taking some old coats in our closet and going down somewhere and start just handing up. I don't need this coat. Hold this coat. It's about to get cold. I've done that. I've taken coats that I had in the closet I know I'm not wearing and go in the area and just hand it to somebody I know who ain't have a coat. So put that on, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, boots. Put those on, man. A buddy of mine, we used to when we lived in Maryland, we used to go to McDonald's, not the best food, get on a dollar menu and buy 50 hamburgers, 50 cheeseburgers, and
Mm-hmm.
take them down under the bridge and just leave the bag. Yo, here, eat for the night.
Mm-hmm.
That what it does to the mind of those is that it keeps them with faith and the promise that there's still good people out here. Maybe it inspired me to change some of the things that I tell myself. And that's what you want to do, man. You want to invoke a spark of idea and anyone who has this dredging thought about themselves that they can change their reality. And that's what helping someone else. That's what camaraderie does because it inspires people, man.
Yeah, I look at this and it's as always when you see this kind of stuff, it's disheartening, and it's disheartening because these are things that we've lived or we live, so we're already aware that it exists,
Right.
and now that it's on the world stage, like it's just like having your dirty laundry exposed. But as a country, I don't know if there's anything in the forms of trying to make this right. Like for indigenous people have been given things where they try to right their wrongs. But
Right.
with all the stuff that's going on, first and foremost, like the United States has to acknowledge that these things are problematic and they exist. And I feel like this past year, because of the pandemic and with people sitting still, we were forced to have those conversations. I think I said that before. We were forced to have those conversations
Right.
and look at it. And people, to me, are trying to be more open and have these dialogues because they don't want to be on the wrong side of history. Some of that I think is disingenuous, though. Some of
Right.
it I think is just because for that reason, like I don't want that associated with
I don't
me or
want
my
to.
brand.
Right.
But I don't know if there's in our lifetime, if there's ever going to be real movement. And I'm not even talking about real movement in the form of compensation. I'm talking about real movement and just acknowledgement that these are things that are real, that are happening, to our people. Like there are people still running around that don't think that racism exists, still telling people they need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. But in every industry and everywhere you go in the world, racism is prevalent,
Right.
and it's just how you call it, like seeing when I see stuff like this, like it's upsetting, and it also just makes you say, like, all right, so everybody is aware, like from afar or abroad, people always talk about America, it's the land of opportunity. But while they talking about it's the land of opportunity, they also realize that, like all these atrocities and all these things that are going on are very real, and it comes with being a part of America. And I think that we've almost been conditioned to believe that because we have other liberties, all those things that we listed, that in the form of genocide, we need to kind of be like, we need to hold those L's, stay silent about it, and let it be, because we and you could be on this computer and we could have a discourse about things we don't like about the government without being assassinated. Whereas in other countries, it's a wrap for you. You speak ill of the government, But again, like just to go back to this in particular, like I think that these are issues that we're well aware of, and it's good that international jurists,
Shout out to them.
they would look at this and they would say, like, all right, so to me, with everything, I'm always thinking like about actionable things, like what's the action plan, what's the next step, where do we go from here with this, like we have this information, and I know they presented it to the United Nations.
Right.
What happens?
They had to have some record, some facts that show it. I mean, you can't just arbitrarily just walk in there and say, "Yeah, the police are killing everybody." Show me where you get this information from. Show me
Yeah.
where you get, police are killing and mass incarceration. What are the numbers of the people in jail?
Mm-hmm.
How many people you got locked down for? What crimes do you have them locked down for? What are those numbers, and why are those numbers so large?
Yeah.
Why is racism a health issue?
Yeah. I'd like to see, though. I hope in my lifetime that we do see that I see some movement with this, and I'll start with, I think, like a form of actual acknowledgement. Like I don't know who it was, somebody that recently finally, I don't it was like a president was before Barack. I'm trying to figure out what it was. One of those presidents that finally came out and acknowledged and said something like, "Yeah, we know we want to apologize for slavery" or something like that, or whatever. This was years ago.
It had to be Clinton, either Clinton or Carter, because it wasn't.
I was like, we actually acknowledging that slavery existed. Whatever, like it's just so much stuff, and again, I think that we've become conditioned to kind of like say, okay, like we have these other liberties, so we need to let those things go, or we're divided. We're divided in the sense that there are people who are adamant, and they're adamant and they're ingrained in trying to change the paradigm of this stuff, and then there are other people who become numb to it, that they like, yeah, I don't see color, I don't talk about this, I just go along with my life. Everything is not race oriented or this, that, or whatever, but everything is race oriented, right? When you start talking about how race has impacted people's finances, race has impacted people's health, race has impacted your education,
why people are redlining, all these different things. Remember, this is not the first time someone has brought these arguments to the UN. W.E.B. Du Bois did it. Malcolm X did it. There's a couple of other, notable people have come to the UN and say, "Yo, you need to look at this, man. It's happening right here in your living room, and it's happening every day. It's happening every day, man."
Yes, it's like you get people telling on the U.S. You know what they really need to present it at? They need
the land of the free. You let people come in here all the time, man.
You know what they need to present it at? They need to present it to the to Congress, the same way Congress is having these congressional hearings about social media. Why don't you have congressional hearings about these things?
Who gonna open that door? Who's gonna invite them in to say that?
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Like, hell, what you got to talk about? Nah, we don't do that
here. Yeah, that ain't. We can forget about that. But yo, this was a good episode. Lots of information. Yo, you know what I did want to say before we end? That I'm surprised you didn't catch that Kanye was talking about. Also, Kanye was talking about creating a city, and it's in the second part of the interview. And he was talking about the irrigation system in one farm and all that or whatever. I was like, yo, if people listen to Kanye, Kanye is eccentric and he could be manic, but Kanye has good ideas and he's a visionary. His personality is just what's really off-putting to people. And he do say some things sometimes where you're like, nah, I'm not rolling with that.
As I was going to say, a lot of Caribbean people say, if you know how to pick sense out of nonsense, nah, for real.
That's a good one for him.
Yo, son, because you might look at his antics and be like, but if you listen, you be like, this nigga is smarter than you, than his behavior portrays him to be. But you gotta listen to him. But some people don't want to even give him the time to hear him out because of his antics and all that other stuff. They throw the baby out with the bathwater, man. So.
Yeah. And that's stuff that you ain't never gonna be able to change about him, though. Like there are things with Kanye though that is very histrionic though. That it's like, all right, like that makes a person like your message can get lost sometimes, and the message can get lost. Yeah, if you're looking at the person, you'll be like, all right, you had good stuff to say, but because of you and how you delivering it, your message is null and void.
Yeah, so. We ain't listening. You're sick. You're beating up photographers and paparazzis.
Oh man,
get out of here.
Yo, thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.